I suggest we build a mine there. With basic industrial resources being produced, we now need to provide for our workers. They'll need both food and water.
We're picking up the strange energy signature from beyond the edges of our colony.
It looks like the enemy may have dropped some kind of resource. The corporation has a new collection tower that might be useful. With this new resource, we should now be able to create some types of new landmass. This should allow us to expand and be more productive. Now that we've proven ourselves, we've been given access to the intercorporate commodity market. From the market, we'll be able to schedule shipments of our extra resources. In return, we'll earn tech credits, which can be used to purchase new technologies. Director, we need to choose a location for our headquarters. Once we do that, we can start to generate energy, pump water, grow food, and build mines. There's an ore deposit nearby. I suggest we build a mine there. With basic industrial resources being produced, we now need to provide for our workers. They'll need both food and water.
We're picking up the strange energy signature from beyond the edges of our colony.
It looks like the enemy may have dropped some kind of resource. The corporation has a new collection tower that might be useful. With this new resource, we should now be able to create some types of new landmass. This should allow us to expand and be more productive. Now that we've proven ourselves, we've been given access to the intercorporate commodity market. From the market, we'll be able to schedule shipments of our extra resources. In return, we'll earn tech credits, which can be used to purchase new technologies. Director, we need to choose a location for our headquarters. Once we do that, we can start to generate energy, pump water, grow food, and build mines.
All right.
There's an ore deposit nearby.
Thought I'd do a little work
build a mine there.
today.
With basic industrial
Figured I
resources
might
being
as
produced,
well turn on streaming. Sounds about right. Yeah, why not do a little streaming? Seems like a reasonable thing to do. Let's get a little organized here. So I've been working on a bunch of different things and working on this new transport system, which is going to change, doesn't really break a lot in the game, but changes little bits and pieces all over the place. Gives the game a little bit of a different flavor, which I'm pretty excited about. I like the idea of a little different flavor on the game. I'm hoping it's one of those changes that just kind of tilts a few things in the right direction and the whole game feels better. It might be a little optimistic, but that's what I'm hoping for. And in this new transportation system, part of what happens is you're going to have more control of shipping resources from one part of the map to the other. Whereas before you would have global storage, and it didn't really matter where, you know, your iron ore got produced and where it got used. And so, yeah, it just didn't really matter where those things were happening, which to me I wanted low micromanagement, but I think I just went a little too low on the management piece, if that makes sense. So one of the things that I'm playing with now, realizing that because of that change, the way that I generate the map, the way I place the resources around the world, I might want to tweak that as well. Because again, if it didn't matter where your resources were, you could kind of scatter them all over. And then when you stumble upon, you know, an iron ore deposit or an aluminum deposit, it didn't really matter where it was. You know, and if there's 5 or 6 of them, great. Like you put mines over there, you get them, and it didn't matter. But now that it will matter more about where it is, because wherever it's getting produced, they need to ship it to where it's going to get used and such things. I want to have larger clumps of the resources. And that's pretty easy to do. That's not too hard. That's just more or less tweaking some settings on a scriptable object. But I also want to make a few changes to, right now, I guess, let's say if you put down, if I say, hey, I want 10 iron ore deposits there, it could just like clump them together so tightly that you wouldn't be able to put buildings in all of them. And so there'd be some that would be inaccessible, which isn't great. That's not what I'm looking for. So I need to do a little bit of tweaking so that when we put down these resources, they kind of create a little bit of a web, a network. They spread out and have some empty space in between, so you can build your buildings. I don't think that's going to be too tough. So what I've been working on over here is kind of digging back into the code that generates the tiles, generates the world. It's been a long time since I worked on this. This code really hasn't been touched in well over a year. And so this function here that I'm in, this generates special tiles, which let's see if Unity is pulled up. That's one landmass generator. So I've got this scriptable object that, this is the inspector for the scriptable object here as well. We're drawing it here. And so what it has is, here's all these special tiles. These are the various resources that get dropped into the world. So I can control the number of locations. I can control the clump size. So how many. I was playing with it, making it kind of big, made it 50, 60. And I don't think the center I don't know that I actually implemented the center. That's interesting. And then min and max distance, that's from the center of the map. So we can kind of control, like, is it going to be where the player starts at the center of the map? So we spread it out a little bit. And then we have nearby tiles. So we can give these things a little bit of decoration. So what I want to look at here, this is not the tidiest of code. I got a for each, a for, an if, and an if. That's pretty ugly. All right. So what we've got in here, we're looking at our special tiles. We're looking at that list that we were just looking at in Unity. And that's why we have 4 each. We're going to loop through all of them. And then we look at the number of them. So how many clumps we're going to have. That's why that 4 is in there. And then the next piece here, this really should be tidied up and probably put into its own function. But what we're doing here is we're getting the location. So effectively what we're doing is we're picking a random location. And then, curiously, we're spawning one of those tiles in. So spawning at that tile, we try to seed the tile. We try to put it there. There could be reasons why it's not going to fit there. I think we're waiting for a second just to make sure that we're not losing responsiveness on our program. And then based on that location, this may also kind of like catch up. This may also let the dictionary catch up and what have you. We're getting all the neighbor locations. So we put a tile down and then we get all the neighbor locations around it. And then we're actually going to look at the number of special tiles that we're going to put down. So that's our min clump size, max clump size. We get that randomly generated in between that. And that's how many we're going to put down. And so what I want to do in here right now, okay, so that's what we get the number. Great. We then loop through here. This is probably not necessary. Oh, I see what's going on. We've already placed a tile, so that's why we're starting our for loop at 1. And then of all these neighbors that we found, we pick a random one here, and we try to put a tile down there. Cool. And then this I added this morning. What wasn't happening is that these neighbors were staying static. So we only had 6 neighbors to choose from. And so if our clump size got bigger than 7, we wouldn't necessarily see it because there wasn't an empty neighbor. So what we do next is when we place one of these tiles, we then go grab all the neighbors of that tile we just placed and add those to our neighbors. So our neighbors continue to grow. And actually what we need to do, if we're successful in doing this, we need to remove this. Actually, even if we're not successful, we need to remove this location from our neighbor so we don't keep looping through it. That will help too. So let's do that. Neighbors, remove hex 3. Okay. So we remove that location. What I want to do, and I need to figure out where to do this. So this tri-seed, we can look at that. What I want to do is I only want to put this tile down if it has 1 or 2 neighbors of the same type. So if I'm putting down iron ore and I choose a location, if it already has 3 neighbors that are iron ore, I'm not going to put it there, because what that can do is start to create these blocks of tiles where I can't place a building. We get too many ore tiles put together, and so we won't be able to build next to it, which is what I'm trying to avoid. So I want to think about a way to do that. The other piece here is that we just kind of do this try. If it doesn't work, we just keep going. I think this removing will probably help. in this sense, because what we're doing is we're not insisting that we actually place this number of tiles. We try to place that number of tiles, and that is a different thing. All right, so let's look at this tri-seed tile. I was looking at this morning. So here we just, that's pretty simple. We just look and see, is there already a tile there? If there is, then we can't place a tile there. And then let's look at this one. This one I have not looked at. Okay, let's look at this. Again, I haven't looked at this code in over a year, so let's look at can add tile. So we're sending in a location and whether we require a neighbor. Sometimes we require neighbors, sometimes we don't. So there's no tiles we can definitely place. If we're outside our global size, okay, then we can't do it. If that already exists in the keys, we can't do it. If we require a neighbor and it doesn't have a neighbor, okay, pretty straightforward. All right, we try to add it to the dictionary. And then we're good to go. Okay. Okay, so I kind of think, how often? So this function is actually getting used a bunch. It's behind my picture, but it's getting used a bunch. So I don't know that I necessarily want to alter that. I might want a special function just for these special tiles. All right, we're going to shrink this down here. Okay. So what we want is a function. I guess a little bigger so folks can see. We're going to return a bool. So whether we can add special tile. Okay, so we're going to put in a hex3 location. And then I think I want to put in this resource to generate. Resource to generate special tile. And I think the reason I want to do that is because that's going to bring in, let's go take a look at that struct. So that has the type, the number, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I think the reason I want to do that is because I can put in a maximum number of neighbors there. So so something like the gas tiles, you're actually building on top of the gas tiles, so it doesn't matter how many neighbors you have. Whereas the iron ore or the aluminum ore, you're building generally, at least at the beginning of the game, you're going to be building next to them. And so it does matter. I think that seems reasonable. Okay, so what we want to do okay, so we're going to get a list of hex3. Yep, neighbors equals hex tile manager, get neighbors. Actually, here was what we want to do. We want to get filled neighbor locations. Okay. Let's double check that that's actually doing what we want. Yep. I don't know why I chose to return the position and not the tile itself, but It's okay. So here what we want to do, we can do some quick checks here. So let's go add in our limit here. So let's go to resource to generate. Serialize field. Int max neighbors equals 2. Oh, right. Okay. Okay. So first off, if we can check if neighbors count is less than or equal to special tile. Oh, I made it private. That's not helpful. Max neighbors, then return true. So if we don't have very many neighbors, we can definitely add it 100%. Okay. Then we want to do count similar. Okay. And then we are going to, let's see if we can do this. Okay, we're going to loop through all of our neighbors. We're going to get it if the type is the same type. That's pretty good, actually. We don't need that. Tile type. Then we're just going to return count similar, less than or equal to special tiles. Max. Okay. Okay, so can add special tile. So we're going to come back up here. And then we're going to say if can add special tile, add that location in the special tile. And actually, I think what we want is if we can't add that special tile, then we're going to do some stuff and then continue. We're also going to remove that like that. Actually, I think that might be all we want to do is if we can't add that special tile, we're just going to leave it blank. We're going to remove it from our neighbors so we don't have to check it again. Actually, let's simplify this a little bit. Let's move this up here. So we only have to have that once. And then we can do something like that. And I think actually we want to do the same thing here. If we can't do this, then we're going to continue. All right, summary checks the max number of similar neighbor tiles. Checks the number of similar neighbor tiles and compares to max allowed neighbors. Okay. So let's see if that, I'm kind of curious what that'll do. So let's pop back in. My mouse has been really weird. Oh, it's actually really dusty. I forgot something on the sensor. I thought the battery was dead earlier, but I'm wondering if it just had some dust or something. On the little feet, it looks like they've gathered a ton of dust. Okay, let's go in here and set this up here. Let's see what happens. Okay, we're looking at this. All right, so we want max neighbors. We're gonna do iron ore. We're gonna set, let's see, 2 gas. You can have 6 neighbors. That's fine. Actually, let's make it more like 4. That'll make it more interesting. Oil you are also building on top, so that can be 4. Ores are gonna all be 2s. The thermal vents, let's do 4 with that as well. You're gonna build on top of that. Sand, you can go 6. That's fine. You're gonna big. Actually, let's make it like. Sometimes I can make some more interesting shapes. Actually, I did this with my tech tree. I did a similar thing with the tech tree. Set the maximum neighbors, and that created some interesting shape. So I'm mostly looking here at the iron ore deposits. Let the map generation complete here. Wait, did we break something? Argument out of range. Okay. Yep, we broke something. I mean, we can do that. Hopefully that's not happening too much. We don't, maybe I have some, maybe we've got a little bit of logic that's not great in there. There we go. We're looking better. There we go. Cleaned up, and the fog of war comes in. Okay. So let's see here. Let's reveal all of our tiles. And there we go. That is more of what I'm looking for right there. I mean, obviously that's massive. That's massive. That's really very silly, but that's what I was looking for. That's the shape that I wanted. So I'm trying to look here. Is there any of these? It's okay if there's occasionally one that you can't build on. Eventually you're going to be able to get a deep, what did I call it? A deep mine. You'll be able to place one on top of a deposit. And that works even if the deposit is run out of resources. But I don't think... Okay, so there's some copper scattered in here. But this is kind of what I wanted, right? So right here, we've got this empty shape here in the middle. So you'd be able to place a grass tile there and then build your mine. Let's see, did we get any other big... I wonder if it all clumped together. That's definitely the shape that I'm looking for. Cool. I think I wanted about a third that size, but... Yeah, even the aluminum here, I think maybe I messed with that. Even that, actually, I haven't messed with those numbers at all, but those look better because of some changes to the code, because we're removing that location, so we're not searching on it. We're not randomizing to that location a second time. We're also enforcing neighbors, so all of those look much better. Yeah, that looks... I mean, you could still end up with some mountains next to it. You could still end up with one that you couldn't get access to in theory, but that looks pretty good. We definitely, if we're going to go remotely this big, we definitely going to need to have... we need to add more grass around it. All right, let's take a look at our numbers here a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so I think I really do want like 12 to like 18. That still feels big, actually. Let's go like 10 to 15. I think that's probably what we want. And so let's see. I think I actually have these in here twice so that I have a different locations. It might be a little more fun. So these are out here at 3 to 13. These ones are... Let's see if I can bring this one up. Let me scroll. All right, now they're next to each other. So this is 8 to 12. I don't know what makes sense here. So it might make sense to have these bigger ones be farther out, at least for now. So let's go like 10 to 15. And we'll have like 2 of those. Maybe we'll go a little farther out, something like that. And then these ones here, maybe we'll go like 3 of them, but we're going to go... how small do we want to make these? Maybe like 5 to, I don't know, maybe 4 to 7. Let's see how that feels. And these are, again, these are close to the center. These are going to be the ones you're going to find first. These are going to be the ones that are going to be farther out. And then let's look at, the other thing we should look at here is, so we might need to play with this setting a little bit too. So we should go look and see how that actually feels right now. What was happening with that really, really large field, right? We had all these tiles, these ore tiles, but there was nothing around them, which looks a little weird. And this setup here was designed these get fill tiles. We put in some grass and then the random types. These were all, this implementation was based on the idea of the resource deposits being fairly small. So let's see how this looks. Whistling a little bit. I don't actually need to build anything. All right, let's see what. Okay, so that's looking pretty, like this is kind of what I want here. This is kind of what I want here. So we've got a lot more. That's still fairly small, but like that's a big clump. Like you can have a lot of mines there. You can really crank this stuff out. Yeah, this is really improved. Let's see if we can find our, do we have a big ore deposit? Do we not? So this is a little bit of the problem with my approach, is that it's like, not sure what the technical term is. It's like, please try this. We really didn't get much iron ore at all. Interesting. I like the shapes. I mean, the shapes are much improved, right? Just much improved. But I feel like I only got those 2 clumps of. I didn't get a big clump of iron ore, which seems weird. Let's do a little debugging. Let's see what's going on here. All right, let's see here. Yeah, let's do a little debugging and see what's going on in there. Okay, so here we go. Here's the breakpoint. Basically, what I wanted to see here, like special ties. I just wanted to make sure we're actually, yeah, we're looping through. So let's take a look and see what's happening here. Okay, so we're gonna do 3 of these, which is what we wanted. So we picked a location. We did pick a location. Oh, geez. Actually, let's put our breakpoint here because we're going to wait a frame. We don't need to loop through all that. All right. Okay, so here's where something's wrong. Wait. No, okay, that's okay, right. That's good. Okay. I thought it said num was 6 or num was 1, which is going to be a problem. Okay. So we start in here. We get a location. Boom. We can add it. We place it. All right, we add all this up. This doesn't seem to be a problem. Our neighbors are... Okay, so now we're on to the next one. And where's my location? Okay, so my location is out farther, which is where it's supposed to be. The number of tiles we're adding is 14. Let's put a breakpoint here and see. Okay, so neighbors, let's see if we added everybody up. Neighbors is... I'm surprised that my neighbors is 0. So that means we ran out of positions to place this thing, which is interesting. It's such a mess. All right. So this start location, we do enemy crystals, and then we do these special tiles. So we shouldn't really be running out of... We shouldn't really be running out of map space. Okay, so here we have, yeah, there we actually have 14 tiles. So it happened a couple times there. So now we're placing aluminum. Okay, interesting. So somehow we are, I mean, we're randomly picking an area where we can't build. So we may need to go look at that random code or random selection code. Okay, so there's our stuff. Okay, so there's one iron ore deposit. There's a 1. We got 1. Okay, so we have something that's really broken. We're just not even placing iron ore. All right, where's actually our start here? Okay, so here was our start. There's 1 deposit, 2 deposits, 3 deposits. I mean, it is showing up. So the inner ones are getting there, but the big one did not. Which is weird. I wonder if that 40 is too big. What is... Have I forgotten how big my map is? I thought my map was 50. $42. Yeah, max distance is 41, so we should be fitting in. We can bring that in a little bit. I don't think that's the problem, though. But maybe it's interesting because the aluminum got placed. Something with this algorithm in particular seems to be a little messy. It's interesting. Okay, so let's think about how we want to... All right, well, let's look at this random location. I think this is just really random. Okay, so get random location at distance. This is an interesting... Get neighbors at distance. Okay, so we're quite literally just doing that. But what we also need to do, what I'm a little concerned about here is that maybe we are getting, we can potentially get a, we might need to filter this a little bit better. So let's look at where this is getting called. Generate clusters. That's our special tiles. Again, special tiles. Get new crystal location. Okay. So I think we can, so what we can do is say, okay, let's randomize these. We go order by equals system GUID, new GUID. Does that not work? Oh, this needs a, okay, so we just randomize the order. We can probably make that more efficient, but we can randomize the order. All right, we're going to assume that this really shouldn't happen. That will always be some of these tiles. Now what we can do is we can loop through these. I think there's a meme that basically game developers, just as long as you can loop through everything, it's all good. It's kind of, I feel like so often that is my solution. Well, if I can just loop through everything, it'll be fine. All right, so we are going to, if the hex tile contains that key, then we're just going to continue. We're just going to we're not going to bother with editing this collection. That's silly to do. We don't need to do that. But if that hex tile happens to be contained, then we don't want to do it. And then let's see what we can, I think we can get empty locations next to, I wonder what the difference between those two is. Oh, I see one's, okay. Get empty locations next to, oh, that's not really what I want. What I want to do here is think about, can we, so not only do we want to find, when we're placing these tiles, we may very well also want to make sure that the neighbors are empty, so that we're actually choosing an empty space here. Let's just go look and see. Maybe I feel like I should have a function for this. Get empty neighbor locations. This lets us actually find empty locations next to a tile type. I think it's a pretty slow function. Here, get empty neighbor locations. That's what I want right there. Right there. That's what I want. Get empty neighbor locations, neighbors. Okay, I clearly... Apparently some of these I decided to make static and some I didn't. All right, let's do the route. So let's get filled neighbor locations. That'll actually do the same trick. Filled neighbor locations, range 1. Oh, there's actually an overload. Let's see what the overload is. Oh, all right. We don't have to give it that. Okay. If this so these are the number of filled neighbor locations. If count is greater than, let's put in here int max filled neighbors. Let's start with 3. When I'm editing a function that gets used in a bunch of places and I want to put a new parameter in, I really like putting in the default value there so that I don't break stuff or have to edit a whole bunch. Mouse is being really weird. Okay. If we get past these things, then we're going to return neighbors like that. And if for some reason we can't find any of those, we're just going to return that really, that's not real pretty, but let's see if that works. I've said it many times before, but this like procedural generation is a double-edged sword here for sure, right? Like it's very cool that I don't have to hand design a bunch of maps, but at the same time, you do spend a lot of time making sure that your code doesn't just create something good once, but constantly create something at least halfway decent. All right, there we go, filling in. And let's see here. All right, we've got some significant aluminum. This is interesting. The aluminum seems to be working really nicely. All right, so there's some iron ore deposits there. That's kind of what I wanted. I probably want a couple more of those. Actually, that's probably good. And what I want to see is giant ass iron ore deposits out here that just aren't showing up. I don't understand. All right, well, this is the troubling ones. Let's put it up first. Let's just regenerate that one more time and see. I'm also moving it up first. That'll just be a little bit easier to put a breakpoint in and see what's going on. I should have built in a setting just to like not use the fog of war. It might sort of be in there, but I'm not going to trust that it's actually going to work right. Okay. So again, there's our iron ore that's near the start point. So that's what we wanted, right? We should have up to 3 of those. So there's 1, 2, 3 clear segments. But why in the world are we not? We're still not getting those big clumps anymore. Really interesting. All right, well let's put a breakpoint in there and see if we can figure out what's going on. Let's get to the right function. We're gonna put a breakpoint in. Let's just stick one right here so we can see what's going on. All right. Is that all? Okay, we're all good. I mean, my guess is what's happening is for some reason we are unable to place at our random location. Which doesn't make a lot of sense to me at the moment. Okay, there we go. So there's a breakpoint. Okay, so we're putting in 2 of these. It's iron ore, right? Here's our max distance. Min distance, max clump size. Okay. So we should be putting in 12 of these tiles. Let's make sure, where are we doing this? Okay, so we're doing this out -25, 3, 22. So we're doing it the right distance. That tile should exist. Right, and we're not just like picking random tiles. We're actually getting them out of our dictionary. Okay. Neighbors, now we're down to 5 neighbors, which is fine. Okay. Oh, so we can't. Oh. Okay, we couldn't add there. So let's see if that happens again. Oh, I'm just a moron. This is why you follow the breakpoints. Okay, so my max neighbors for that thing was 0. Yeah, I'm just a moron. Well, sometimes it's nice just to be the moron, because then the solution is easy. Like this field just needs to be 2. Yep. That is just the way it is sometimes. Nothing like spending half an hour debugging to discover that your value is just set at 0. We'll fix that. We're gonna fix that because that is not going to be the last time that I make that mistake. Okay. So there's a clump of iron ore. I can also look at my mini map. Actually, it's easier to see up here. Clump. Great. Big clump. Which I like. Not huge clump, but that's okay. Here's a big clump. All right. That makes so much more sense because we were having issues with. Oh, that's interesting. Missing some fog tiles there. Like the other deposits were working just fine. So. Okay, I'm gonna push those back out farther too. So we're gonna put these at like 20. I think I had them like at 25, and let's go 25 and 35. Let's go like outer ring. These are big. Well, they don't need to be that big. That's fine. Sweet. So I got a few folks tuned in. If folks got questions, feel free to throw them in chat. Happy to answer questions on my project, or now it's been a long while since I made a tutorial video, but happy to try to answer questions on other people's projects as well. Cool. I think we are definitely crowded here, right? Like we've got a ton of resource, which isn't bad, but we also have these outer rims here where we just haven't really done much with. Okay, let's go fix this stupid max neighbors thing because I kind of saw that one coming. It's a struct, so I can't give it a default value, but I can give it a range, and we're going to go from 2 to 6. I think with the algorithm currently as it is, it doesn't make any sense to have less than 2 neighbors, because if you only have 1, then you're only building a clump of 2. That doesn't really work. All right. There we go. Added in a slider. Now I can't make it 0. Oh, this one's 0. Nice. Max neighbors, you can go to 6. Water can be... Actually, let's, again... Making it 4 or 5 does make for more interesting shapes. So let's make it 5. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense with water. Let's keep it at 5. Good. That's good. Let's push this out even further. I'm leaning in favor of fewer clumps of any given resource, but making it more abundant, if you will. And these are all going to change. I'm just kind of playing with things at the moment. Eventually, when we get the world map working, or the galactic map, the system map, whatever we'll label it, worlds will be tuned and they won't necessarily have all these resources. There's actually a part of me a little tempted to turn this down a little bit. Like just have fewer, like maybe even get rid of some of these more advanced resources. We just don't need them. But maybe for people who are playing the demo or the early access, they get to see a little bit more of the vision of the game by having all those in there, even if they can't use them. Okay, I like this. All right. So what I'm looking for is a little less overlap. I might push this aluminum. I'm not sure why I'm fine-tuning this quite so much, but I don't love that this aluminum here is overlapping so much with the iron. I think I want to push it farther out. Because right now, yes, the iron is 8 to 12 and the aluminum is 12. So let's push this to like 16. So we definitely end up with a gap. I think that makes sense, but let's check that out and see how we're doing. All right, so there's our big iron ore deposit out at the rim, which I like. Another one out there. And we got some titanium out here. Cool. There's just so much more. There's so much more out on the outside. I mean, I guess actually with this aluminum, we could space this out. We could go all the way out to the, go all the way out. I also don't want to go. That's one of the reasons I did this with the iron. I put it in twice, is to ensure that we had some here, like in the 18 to 12 or 8 to 12, like close by. Yeah, we have all this empty space out here. We definitely need to, where's our actual middle? Yeah, we definitely need to push things out a bit. So I think that's good. Let's move the aluminum goes out a little bit. And the copper can probably, the gas too. We're going to push the gas out a little bit. Where's our copper? Where's our copper? There's our copper. Okay, let's push our copper out. Our copper is going to be in the same circle as the aluminum. Oops. Come on, why are you typing a 1? I want a 3. There you go. Okay, make this a little bit bigger. And thermal vent, let's make those a little bit bigger, something like that. And we're going to push out as, well, that's okay. They can be kind of scattered. Thermal vents are here. Some gas. Okay. Let's made a few changes. Let's regenerate one more time. And then I want to work on, I've got 2 buildings, or I got one building that is mostly put in, but I'm getting some errors with. We got to debug that. It's in the transport hub. I don't need to place any buildings. We're just generating. I want to get that transport hub working right now. It's we're hitting some default. I missed some settings somewhere. So it is not coming in as the right building. And then I want to look at, I might just rough out a building. One of the things I want to look at is or maybe we'll model it. I think it's a good idea. It's not the worst thing to model a building and maybe not use it. Is a long distance transport. Okay, so let's see how we're doing here. Okay, so again, here's our center. Here's where we're at. We start with our little iron ore. There's another one over here. That's great. We've got a couple more here. All right, we've got some aluminum now out here at the edges, which is good. I definitely need to push more towards the edges because there's so much space out there. All right, we got a giant iron ore, not giant, but there's a pretty good sized iron ore there. That iron ore there is going to be unusable because you can't build on the water at the moment. But there we go. There we've got another big iron ore deposit. So that's great. I mean, that's a ton of iron ore. That's a lot. I like it. I think the move on these resources might be to have, I don't know. I'm not sure what the move is. I like it. I like it. I think we've made some good improvements. Small tweaks here. The deposits look, they're more interesting. They're more organically shaped. We still have a ton of space on this outer ring that we're just not using. Okay, let's take a look at the problem that I've got right now. Let's turn off our clock so we don't get invaded here. All right. We might break a few things because we've got the, we revealed all the tiles, but I think this will still work. So what I want to look at, we're going to place our headquarters down. Like so. Okay. The next piece is, actually, let's unlock some tech tree stuff. I think we have to, yep. Okay. So here's my transport hub. It is in my tech tree. We just unlocked it. The description's not right, but we'll fix that. But what's happening, we're not throwing an error, which is the weird piece here. Is that when I place it down, we get the, instead of placing a transport hub, we're actually placing an additional headquarters, which is, not, believe it or not, is not the intended goal. So let's check this here. Here's our transport hub, and here's our unit type that's set correctly. Okay. There's our complete type, placeholder type, also transport hub, build up units. This is the prefab that animates a little bit as it's getting built. That is also the transport hub. All right, well, let's check the button. Could the... Let's also look at the... Let's look at this prefab real quick here. Okay, so the GPU, sometimes the GPU instancer gets attached to the wrong prefab, so it brings in the wrong visuals, but that's not the problem. Again, that's set up correctly. All right, so let's go into our... Well, let's double check that this is still an issue. It's got to still be an issue, but... So if I place the transport hub, I don't get a... So you can see there, we've got... It says headquarters, and we're not showing anything. We're not showing a placeholder. We are getting an error, but I think that is Unity doing something weird. So here's my placeholder. Right, again, it's correct. Correct hub. All right, so let's walk through this here. Oh, I was gonna check the button, make sure that the button is doing the right thing. Build menu. This is what these are, industrial buildings. Transport hub. Okay, we are. Okay, if that's even set up right. All right, well, let's just track it from the button. Let's go find our button component. All right, we're just gonna place a breakpoint right there. Okay. All right, unit hub, transport hub, can repeat place. I believe that should be true. Let's go in here. Unit type. Oh, that was a func. That's why I couldn't see anything from it. Building spot. Hey, I am Gingerbread. I am not using entities in this game. When I started the project, Unity's ECS, dots, however you want to refer to all that stuff, was not ready to go. I think there might be arguments that it's still not ready to go, but it was officially from Unity not ready to go. I am using yeah, I think it's Are you using ECS or dots in your program and your projects? I watched a Unity webinar. I don't know, maybe a year ago now, at least 6 months ago, on ECS and dots and like converting projects, and it was, yeah, exactly right. Just the job system. Yeah, I need to get into the job system more. I need to explore more about that and understand more of the job system. Yeah, I watched this webinar and I was like, it looked like a giant pain in the ass to use ECS. Like the whole thinking process was totally different. It looked like it'd be a nightmare to debug. Like I just, yeah. But the job system, hey, YG Smoke, what's good? Everything's good. Everything's good. Yeah, I wonder. There's rumors. I don't know how. I think they're just rumors that Unity's working on a workflow that you could build, like we've been used to with game objects and components, and then there would be a translation to ECS and dots, which I'm sure wouldn't be as efficient as if you did it yourself, right? Okay, so we are getting the right prefab by type. All right, so here's the placeholder. This is what I'm curious if we're not getting this out. We are getting that out. Is the unit... Oh, unit cost is a link statement, so that's not going to debug very well. Oh, there we go. So our costs are coming in as null. I never set up build costs. That could do it. Okay. I really need to automate this better. It's one of those things that in retrospect, I should have taken a couple days to make the tooling for this a little bit better. Yeah, like you said, the integration would be so much better. It could be so much better. So here's my other like hot take on ECS and dots. As a single developer, and I realize this is a little closed-minded, a little bit old manish. Don't change how things are done. But there is a piece of me that really thinks that any game that I am making as a single person should not be so complicated as to need ECS and dots. I think if I need those things, I have very likely overscoped my project immensely. Maybe not. I'm sure there's exceptions, but I probably have overscoped my project immensely, and I probably shouldn't be building it on my own. That's my thought. If you like the game, hey, I'm glad. It's been a fun project. I'm learning a lot. Learning a lot by making it. Not selling a lot, but learning a lot. Why'd you smoke? Yep. Yeah, I don't know. What was the Vampire Survivor? Is that what it was? The game that was all the rage a few months ago? I've wondered if that used dots and ECS, or I guess I'm assuming it was made in Unity. I'm not sure if it was made in Unity, but with the number of things that were on the screen, I can imagine that being necessary there, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you what I do really like, though. I've been pretty impressed with the Unity is their new awaitable functions. That I those I really quite like. I think they could they might still be a little raw. It might still be a little raw and could use some refinement, but the awaitable functions I really quite like. I might contradict a little bit of what I was just saying about in terms of scope and what have you. But one of the things I really like about them is the ability to toss your async function onto a background thread. I think that is really a powerful thing. I think you can get things overly complicated quickly with that, but yeah, YG Smoke, you're using the waitables. Yeah, I think they're nice. I feel like I did this. I rebuilt these. I was having problems with these build costs. They weren't showing up in builds for some reason. They just weren't showing up, and so I threw them into a asset bundle, which is probably was overkill. I should probably just grab them out of a resources folder. I'm pretty sure I'd already rebuilt that. But yeah, there's a few things here in this game that I've been able to use the awaitable functionality and put things on a background thread, which has been really nice. And that's just really been helpful. Okay, let's build that. But actually, let's just go look and see if that build cost showed up. Build cost, boop. It is still not there. We're still not grabbing. Oh, you know what? I didn't actually put it in the asset bundle. Yeah, you can tell how fluent I am with asset bundles. Mm. All right, let's try that again. But yeah, I think the ability to throw stuff onto a worker thread, it's great. I think there's a lot of potential to be pretty sloppy um, with that. And potentially there's some danger there. I think as a in that it's so easy just to toss something on a background thread that you may not come through and optimize it. Which, depending on the scope of your game, may not be that big of a deal. But I could imagine, like, you know, if you just start tossing everything that you can onto a background thread and it never gets optimized and it doesn't show up in the profiler as easily or as readily. Yeah, it's interesting. My workflow so far has been to with that is to build the tool, have it on the main thread just because it's simpler, it's easier. And then optimize it on the main thread where it's easy to see on the profiler, blah blah blah. And then toss it onto a background thread. Okay, Mr. White. You're funny. All right, let's see if we resolve this issue. Unlocked here. My mouse is still being weird. There it is. Okay, now we're getting the right prefab, which is great. And we have our build costs that are actually showing up down there now. All right. Awesome. Cool. And it broke already. The object type of landing pad has been destroyed, but you are still trying to access it. Well, that's possible. Why is this missing a... Okay, so... Again, it's been a while since I made these things. Okay, I just didn't create a landing pen. All right, fair enough. It's funny, I made most of my models a long time ago. And I do my best to, like, create validators and what have you to help me remember how to do things, but still screw it up. Lotus Forge Studios. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. How are you doing today? All right, let's see. Let's see if we can get around all of the snafus. You're only 15 years old. Nice, congrats. That's awesome. I used to be a high school teacher. I actually taught a class using Unity. I taught a year-long course for Unity. It's pretty fun. Yeah. From India. Well, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. All right. Let's unlock. All right. Let's see if we can get farther. Can we? How long until we hit an error? Okay, so we connect it. Will it actually build it? Yes, it will build it. All right, let's see if the build up works. Oh, that really, like, Kerthunked in place quickly, didn't it? And they're not the same size, which is a little, that's a minor issue, but that is an issue. Oh, I hate little bugs like that. I don't know if you guys saw that. Like, it popped in. The buildup is not the right size. Maybe it's a scaling issue. I can dream of it just being a scaling issue. It is not. Yeah, I think it's great to get into Unity, and well, I think Unity is a great. That's actually how I taught my classes. Like, it was a bait and switch. It was a gateway into computer science, if you will. Oh yeah, look, the scale's off. Sweet. Awesome. That'll fix it. I don't think those objects are pooled. We'll see. We might have to restart to see that fix. I didn't notice that. I look better. Okay. We now have transport hubs in the game. Awesome. And let's make sure that these are actually working. So let's build. Why is my mouse still being stupid? All right, let's see how well this works. So let's go in here and then here and here. And this guy is going to allow iron like so. Good. Okay. All right, we'll do that. And then we're going to build some mines. Yeah, it's working. Although, so we're just about at the point where I want to like do some deeper dive into play testing. This guy, let's pause real quick before we get too far. That guy is effectively throwing an error. He is saying, I can't do anything. So actually we blah 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 blah. It's funny, I changed these things around. That doesn't actually. Okay. So we pop in here. Let's just make sure we know what this is. This is the solar panel. Okay. All right. We are visible. We clear the issue. Can produce. Okay, I think this is the one that's a problem. Use conditions 1. Use during the day. Is night. False. Okay, we can produce. That's correct. Oh, it's a storing All right, it's this one. Yep, we can't. Oh. Okay, we got to figure out where to fix that. So I like, I've been saying this on every live stream for a while. I like, I branched the project just in case all my changes here turn out to be steaming pile of crap. But I changed the way stuff gets transported. And when I did that, we broke a bunch of things. And one of these things was this this collection here getting set incorrectly. Can we make a Scratch-like visual scripting in Unity? I mean, I personally don't like Scratch. I think it has its place, but I'm sure. I mean, there's lots of attempts at visual scripting for Unity. I mean, Unity's got their own built-in. I make strange faces because I used to use what Unity now calls visual scripting. Where the player will code a game in a game. And the player can play. You know what? Actually, yeah, you definitely can. You definitely. Well, I was just looking up here. I actually used this during COVID with my students. This game. This is a great game. If you like that kind of thing. Gladiabots. Really, in my mind, really a cleverly made game. There you go. You can see the yeah, these guys actually, this guy actually, I believe he may have had some help with some things, but largely did this on his own. He created these behavior trees in the game. So you create these behavior trees in the game as the player, and then that controls your units in the game. So yeah, it's definitely possible. It is not a small task. Okay, my mouse being a pain in the ass is really driving me crazy. Okay, let's go figure out why. All right, so solar panel. So we need to figure out where, so this resource production behavior, here's this recipe. This is the recipe that the solar panel follows to produce the fuel cells. And we need to make sure that our unit storage behavior down here is making room for all that. A horror sandbox with programming in it. Whoa. That's a genre you don't see very often. I mean, I've thought the same thing, like allowing players to program in the game could have some cool stuff. Okay. But I think you need to be very careful about how you scope that. Otherwise, your entire project's gonna come down to just making the coding piece. Yeah, a rare and unique idea. I mean, depends what your goals are. All right, so this is really what I want here is adjust storage for recipe. Yeah, you got to be really careful with your overscoping there. Like, I'll put it this way. I work as a Unity developer as my day job. And have been using Unity for 12 years now. I probably would not, I would be very cautious about creating my own programming tool within a game for scoping reasons. Scoping reasons, bugs. It would need to be very carefully thought out and very carefully scoped. That game that I just showed with the behavior trees is not a coding language. And could be built on top of other third-party assets. So that's my word of caution. All right, so this is the adjust storage for recipe. This is what needs to be called. And let's see where this is actually. So we got two places. It's one is there, and set recipe index. Huh. It looks like I have functions that do the same thing. Okay, so what I really need is I need to call this. Let's follow this through and let's see what's going on here. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. This is a bit of a mess, but add deliver type. Let's go see where add deliver type actually gets called. So housing behavior, da, 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 da. All right, so it really... All right, let's see where this gets set from. Unit manager. Okay, that's getting called on load. So that's getting called from load. That's why we probably have slightly different. I don't really. I think that's the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. But start behavior. Okay, so here's where it should be happening. So let's debug this one here and see what's going on. Which one? For loop and for each loop. I don't think it's as simple as, I mean, I think there's lots of different cases. I'm not an expert. In general, your for loop is going to be faster. If you're going to do the entire loop, the for loop is going to be faster. It's going to, or I should say it's more performant. So if there's no need to use the for each loop, in general, I'm going to default to the for loop. The exception would be when you have an enumeration, and okay, yeah. So the exception would be if you have an enumeration and you have to use a for each loop. Just, I mean, I guess you could convert the enumerator to a list, and then you could do it. But then there's downsides to converting to a list. The other time that would be a much better case would be if you have an enumerator that doesn't generate the entire collection at once. So like if you're generating a list of random numbers, an enumeration can be a good place to do that because it can be more efficient because it just generates on demand, or it can just generate on demand. All right, we got to go through here. Oh, what did we just, how did we just skip over? Say what? Oh, did I, okay. I must have deleted a line in there and forgot to save it, but we're okay. Okay, so old recipe is this. New recipe is that. Okay. Okay, that recipe doesn't have any cost. Old recipe, get production. We're going to produce energy, so we're going to remove that. It's okay. Okay, that's done. So here's the recipe. All right, that doesn't, the new recipe still doesn't have any cost because it's the same recipe. And then here, oh, I know what's going on. So I was actually really surprised at how complicated it was to move resources from one building to another. If it just happens instantaneously, not a problem. Yeah, well, enjoy your classes. Good luck. Good luck with your project. It's an ambitious one for sure. But that is where most of us start, is with overly ambitious projects. Some of us don't learn, myself included. So yeah, one of the issues here was managing all these, like, all the data of like where something is. And so I end up with these lists, or these, I think these are actually hash sets at this point, of what types you can pick up from a building, what types can be delivered. And that's how we know whether, right, like a connection can be made. It's one of the ways we know if we should go deliver stuff there. It's not that profound. And so what we're doing here I'm willing to bet is we are setting up the production. So we set that list correctly. So this solar panel is producing fuel cells. So we just added that to the pickup types, which will get picked up from there. But I ran into this problem because I redid some of these lists. I changed them to hash sets, made things a little bit more organized, a little bit more performant. And what is now happening, I'm willing to bet, is we are, when that solar panel produces the fuel cell, I bet we are, quote unquote, delivering it. We are delivering, or we're attempting to deliver it. Actually, I'm not quite right. I'm on the right track here, but not quite. Um, can produce, can store products. This is where the issue is. Can deliver resource. Yeah, exactly. This is where we were. This is where we were 20 minutes ago. Okay, so we're checking to see if it's on deliver types, but it's never going to be on deliver types because, yeah, that doesn't work. So let's see where this goes. These are both on resource production behavior. Okay, so what we actually want to be calling is can pick up resource, because that actually checks the pickup. The name means a little confusing. But let's make that change. Can pick up resource. Checking if resources produced can be stored and picked up after storage. Okay. Let's get out of our breakpoint. Let's see if we fix that. This top fans thing, ranking people in chat, is strange to me. I'm sure YouTube must have figured out it earns them a slight bit more money. All right, let's see. We should be able to produce a solar panel, and it should start ticking away. All right. Okay, we still aren't producing. Son of a... All right, well, let's go in and find out what's going on. All right, this is energy. Can we pick up energy pickup types? Okay, energy's on there. Well, this is a weird thing. Oh. Okay, so let's do, we need a combo of these two things, because right now we're looking at resource total. Like, yeah, this is going to be false. Ye blah blah. I wonder why I wrote it as if statements like this. It's a little strange. All right, so let's go. We're going to duplicate this. We're going to call it can store for pickup. Can store. We don't need resource in there. Okay, can store for pickup. We're going to check the pickup, whether we can actually do that. But we need this check to see if we have room for it. And let's just return that thing. That's ugly. Let's just go like that. Right? Let's change this too. Less code isn't always better, but can store for pickup. That is really what we need. Okay. And out of our breakpoint again. Oops. Well, that's no good. Minor detail. All right, please work. I would like my mouse to stop lagging. I think it must have dust on the sensor. I feel like I can almost see it. Maybe not. All right, there we go. Now we're working. Now we are producing. Sweet. Oh, yeah, right. I was... Yeah. Okay, cool. Love it when everybody just disappears. All right. It might be dinner time. Oh, the other bug that it needs to get tackled is the order of delivery doesn't seem to be... The order of delivery doesn't seem to be... or I should say the order of... Oh, that's interesting, actually. Yeah, the order of... the order that you build things in doesn't necessarily seem to be the order that... what am I trying to say? The order that you build things isn't necessarily the order that things get delivered to. Okay, so I like the automatic delivery. That's working well. Let's check out our... Let's check this out. Make sure this is still working. All right. Well, I might go eat some dinner. Let's I want to confirm here that... Okay, we've got enough. Let's see, how much does a solar panel cost? 2. So what I want to see here is, okay, so I built the 2 of them. This one was built first. The one on the left was built first. If I connect like so, we make the connection at first to that one, which is correct. And then, oh, okay. Oh, that problem still exists. We somehow ate some... yeah, we just ate a bunch of... Wait, where is the stored... We have iron somewhere, but it disappeared. We've got a leak. Son of a... That's no good. Interesting. Okay, so let's... Huh. I thought I fixed that. Yeah, because it's still showing 40 iron. We still have 40 iron somewhere. But... I mean, it's got 20 over the air. Okay, so this guy's this guy's full. What's the cost of iron? Okay, mine is 50. I just want to see. Okay, so there was one down. How the hell did that get triggered? All right. That's what happens when you rip everything out. You get a few bugs. All right. I might be back in a little bit, but I'm going to go eat some dinner. We're going to call it quits for now. Got a few more bugs to chase down.